Yo, what's up YouTube? What's up Twitch? What's up Geek? It's your boy, Top Supreminus, and today we're reacting to 65 Meals a Day, the tragic life of Kurt Angle. Yeah, subscribe.
Yo, love, that's the video we're reacting to. Yeah, let's get right into it, man. Damn. Woo! Without wasting time. Without wasting any time. Yeah? Cause time is money. Okay, I'm talking a lot. Let's start the video.
Professional wrestling has always faced one major critique from its haters. It's fake. For some reason, people who are...
You know, the thing is, yeah? I used to think wrestling was real. I think up to around, I think when I was 17, 18, I used to think wrestling was real. Because I used to ask myself, why would you pay money to go look at a bunch of niggas fighting only to be told that it's not real? Bro, if I was there watching the wrestling, I think I'll be able to decipher whether it's real or fake. So in my mind, I've always thought that wrestling is real. I don't know if nowadays I don't watch it anymore that like I used to, but I still believe it's real. Cause yeah, I don't want it to be like at it's not real. The way I was a huge fan of it, but the thing is nowadays they have a lot of is it cloud chasing, if I can say. But yeah,
WWE can't get behind the idea of a predetermined outcome. Even Hall of Famer Kurt Angle thought that until he stepped into the ring. But what he did not realize was that the WWE would bring him more pain than real wrestling ever could, which means a lot coming from the man who won an Olympic gold medal with a literal broken neck. While millions around the world saw a triumphant American hero, deep down, Kurt Angle was suffering unimaginable physical pain and coping with the loss of several close friends and family members. But there was one way he could get relief from the physical and emotional toll, and that was by consuming a toxic cocktail of alcohol and prescription pills.
I was taking 65 extra drinks like it in a day.
do you guys see the? I think it's the. You're not that guy. You're not that guy. The way his eyes are usually that open. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's a meme. I think it's a meme. It's a meme that. Yeah, you were like, you're not that guy. You're not that guy. You're not that guy. Yeah, I remember. I don't remember where I watched that.
That's how out of control I got. And I was hiding it from the company.
Kurt nearly died multiple times for a sport.
Okay, now this is where I ask myself, how comes if okay, you guys are saying it's fake, but whenever they jump like this, yeah, whenever they jump like that, and then they miss, and then they hit the ground or the cardboard, the weight, I'm pretty sure it's still gonna hurt though. How is that fake though? How is that fake? Okay, I don't know what's happening with this. Every single time I stream,
fake, but nothing about what he went through was pretend. This is the brutal and tragic story of Kurt Angle. There's an assumption that Kurt was this otherworldly child prodigy athlete, but that's not exactly true. Growing up in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, Kurt Angle lived and breathed contact sports. When he wasn't debating passionately about his favorite teams at the dinner table with his 5 older siblings, he was busy practicing as an amateur wrestler, something he picked up at just 7 years old. But being an athlete in a family
come on, man. You know the thing is, yeah, I still don't think it's fake. Personally, I don't think it's fake. Yeah, I don't think it's fake because these people, I grew up watching this, and it was like the best thing. Remember how they used to even beat each other to a point where they are bleeding? How are you guys faking all that? Damn. But the thing is, yeah, if it's fake, how are you paying it to just go see people lying straight to your face? I don't think that's okay. If you know it's fake, then why are you going in the first place? Yeah.
Family of older, stronger athletes wasn't easy. Kurt has been open about how his early life was packed with one loss after another. I actually wasn't doing that well, and the documentary
I actually wasn't doing that well. In the documentary, they say I was a great athlete since I was born. Nah, that's not true though.
angle, they say I was a great athlete since I was born. That's not true. I was the worst athlete in my family, and that wasn't bad because everyone in my family were good athletes. But I lost a lot when I was younger. I cried a lot. I was a real crybaby. My family doubted if I'd ever be good at sports. From the start, it almost seemed like he was Kurt.
I know that's the problem. Because if you're born in a family where every single person is good at their sport, and then you are there trying your best to be like them, and then you end up not being like them, I feel like that's a very bad situation to be in.
His life seemed to be going in the right direction in one moment with hard work and perseverance, and then in another, he'd suddenly confront crippling tragedy that would push him closer to the edge. Starting in 1984, when he lost his father, David Angle, to a freak accident on the job. David was a construction worker, and one day when he went to get his lunch, he stepped on rebarb, lost his balance, and fell 13 feet onto the hard ground, breaking his shoulder and fracturing his skull. He was placed on life support, and Kurt's mother, Jackie, ultimately made the decision to end his suffering, weeping as she had to pull the plug on the man who held their family together.
Do you guys think it's okay? Like whenever they pull a plug on someone, like do you think it's okay? Okay, if I ever like be in that situation, yeah, I'm in a coma. For me personally, I'd love to live it through. Don't pull the plug. Let me stick there. Okay, but the problem is the bills keep on accumulating. So I believe that that's the reason why most of the people even pull the plug. But if it wasn't anything concerning about the bills, I feel like it will be okay to just let the person, because you never know, they might wake up. What if you pull the plug and then I was supposed to wake up like 5 minutes later? Come on.
Together, and this would have sent most others into a downward spiral. However, Kurt's dad said something to him just a year before, giving him the strength to keep fighting. He told me this the year before he died. He said, "You're gonna be the one." And I didn't understand him, but he knew, for some reason, that I'd break out of this crybaby stage and end up being a great performer. So I didn't understand what he meant, and when he passed away the next year, I thought, my dad said I was gonna be the one. I gotta start working hard now. And from that day...
And you know the thing is, yeah, I always pray that this streaming thing works out before any of my parents die. Because man, I want them to, like, I love them to enjoy the fruits that I have. Because yeah, like the fruits, what am I saying? The fruits of my work. Oh my God.
Forward, Kurt would carry the words of his late father in his head, praying before every competition with the belief that it would help him succeed. And as he dedicated his life to chasing a gold medal, he would end up with countless tragedies along the way. For 4 straight years, Kurt Angle put everything he had into preparing for the 1996 Summer Olympics. He was ranked 2nd in the U.S. World Team, yet he struggled to find his footing. As he began losing matches, his confidence took a significant hit. However, Kurt's father was not the only person who had faith in him. Olympic gold-winning wrestler Dave Schultz was quickly becoming his mentor and invited Kurt to train at Foxcatcher, a facility in Philadelphia owned by John DuPont.
Dave told me that John DuPont started a wrestling club, and
I still wonder up to this day, why is he so bald? Like, he's so bald to a point where, like, he looks like a neg in a way. Because you see, the way, the shape over here, But the head also looks so muscular, bro. I'm pretty sure a headbutt from him, oh, guys, will put you in a coma. Like, the way he looks, oh my god, his skull looks pretty hard. I don't know why. Plus, it looks like he's excessively built to a point where his skin is like stretching out in a way. I don't know, but maybe that's how I see it.
He was going to be coaching there, and
Maybe that's how I see it. Because look at him. Look at this, bro. Then compare this with this. This guy's face looks fallen. Yeah, it looks like it's. This one, focal angle looks like compact. Like. I don't know what I'm saying.
I thought, wow, this is a great
Oh, I didn't mean any offense. So please, yeah.
opportunity. I said, do you think that they'd be interested in me? He said, if you win the NCAAs this year, I'm sure they will. And I did. I won the NCAAs that year. And, you know, Dave and John invited me to the farm.
At the time, John DuPont's Foxcatcher Ranch was a camp for the global wrestling elite, partly because DuPont dumped massive amounts of his family fortune into the program, but mostly because it was home to the Schultz brothers, the only American brothers to win both world and Olympic gold and have more NCAA, US Open World, and Olympic titles than any other American brother combination in history. For Kurt, this wasn't just a chance to work with the greats. He really loved Dave and saw him as everything he had ever aspired to be. But Foxcatcher Ranch was far from a perfect environment, and hyper-focused athletes like Kurt and Dave could never predict how horrifying their experience would be. Chances are you know someone who has been seriously hurt in an accident. If that wasn't bad enough, they end up with huge bills from the hospital, making not only their health a concern, but also their finances. When you're seriously hurt, your injury could be worth millions. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm with a
These people love. But now that's the thing, yo. If you're a professional athlete, like, you really need to have, like, money or just insurance, because if you get an injury, bro, that's like you've already ended the only way of you earning. You get that, because that's the only way these people earn. So imagine getting an injury that will just leave you bedridden in a way. You lose your sponsorship, you lose the career that you've already started to build. So it's something hard, man.
Kurt developed a foolproof strategy of deliberately slowing down the pace of his matches, saying, if I didn't get tired, I was going to win. He immediately began focus on endurance and believed that his training only began once he became exhausted. Angle's grueling regimen included a 6-mile run completed in 38 minutes, 10 200-yard hill sprints with someone on his back, and then another 10
Hey yo, bro. He went full blown
sprints without
mode.
assistance. He would then do drills on the mat for 4 to 5 hours, rotating between 3 to 4 training partners. Then he took a 30-minute break before repeating this entire process. His evenings were reserved for plyometrics and weight training. His goal was to see how far he could push his body to its limits. For 2 consecutive years, Kurt trained 3 times a day for 28 out of 30 days each month. And because of that, he was
3 times a day, bro. That's levels, like discipline level is on point, because yo, it's so easy.
knocking off the best conditioned wrestlers in the world, establishing him as a serious contender for the gold medal at the 1996 Summer Olympics. But there was something lurking in the background that neither Dave nor Kurt could have seen coming. Foxcatcher's leader, John DuPont, was about to snap, and his mental decline was becoming more and more noticeable to residents of the ranch.
Hey, Merry Christmas. Don't hurt yourself.
The property changed to a militarized zone. I said, who are you afraid of? And John said, you never know who it might be.
Uh-oh, it's getting a little more serious.
I was really worried.
You gotta get out of there. You gotta get out of there now.
While it wasn't known by the general public at the time, John DuPont was a paranoid schizophrenic who had become fixated on creating a new legacy for the DuPont name. He had a creepy fixation with the Schultz brothers and other wrestlers living on his compound, turning it into a fortress, playing with firearms without warning and waving them in the faces of the wrestlers. He also told one wrestler that Foxcatcher would become a KKK organization and constantly had to be reassured by Dave that shadowy figures weren't coming out of the walls, all while he was drunk or high on random drugs. Dave Schultz's brother Mark would later describe how they felt scared, but they couldn't justify leaving with so little money. I was kind of trapped in a way because I was competing for the world championships, and there weren't a whole lot of options for me. Because I was an Olympic champion, I was so used to people treating me with respect. It just didn't occur to me that someone would be so underhanded.
You mean to tell me his whole life has never experienced like someone treating him with any type of disrespect? So the way now he's like being treated, it's kind of getting to his head is like, why? You know, the thing is with these people, like I feel like they deserve to be okay. Let me not go there, but in that situation, because you're looking for money, and at the same time the only person who can give you the lifestyle you want is already there threatening you and telling you.
Eventually, after one too many gun-associated confrontations with DuPont, Mark vowed never to return. However, Dave returned to practice at the ranch regardless. He was in complete denial because of his own progress and the growth of great wrestlers like Kurt Angle. He believed that DuPont was a gift to the world of Olympic wrestling. He knew he was unstable, but DuPont was a frail old man, and not a perceived threat to an Olympic gold medalist. Tragically, on January 26, 1996, at 2 p.m., John DuPont grabbed a .44 Magnum and ordered his security consultant to drive him to Dave Schultz's house. Dave's last words were, "Hi, boss," with a smile and a friendly wave. DuPont answered him with a gun pointed at his head. He screamed, "You got a problem with me?" and opened fire, shooting Schultz dead on the spot.
Yo!
Right after,
Is it because he
DuPont's own security turned on him, but he managed to jump in his car, flee to his mansion, and hide from prying eyes as the whole SWAT team surrounded his house, managing to avoid arrest for days until they finally captured him.
DuPont allegedly shot Olympic wrestling champion David Schultz.
Okay, I don't understand why the security guards turned against him after watching him kill. Like, they would have stopped it. Why didn't they do?
Who won a gold medal in the 1984 Summer Olympics, lived with his family in a home on the estate. It is at that home that police say DuPont drove up and shot Schultz in the driveway. Schultz's wife, Nancy, was a witness to the event. The family's grief was evident on the face of Schultz's daughter as her mother explained their loss.
My family must now turn its focus and energy to my children, Alexander and Danielle, who've had a very close relationship with their father and who are struggling to understand how and why this tragedy happened and how they will possibly fill this void in their lives.
Just like that, a little girl lost a father, and wrestlers like Kurt Angle had to find out they lost a friend from the news. He had just talked to Dave earlier that day. Understandably, Kurt can't seem to talk about Dave's death without looking like he's on the verge of breaking down.
Someone tuned into the CNN in the office and saw that Dave Schultz was shot. They didn't say he was murdered, just that he got shot. I called Dave earlier that day and left him a message and told him I was coming out to Foxcatcher to train that week. I wanted to go out and have Dave train me. Dave was my coach at the time, and along with a couple other coaches, but Dave was my key coach. And it blew me away. I couldn't believe that DuPont killed him, but I knew that John DuPont was acting a little suspicious. You know, he was seemed like he was always sedated, some kind of drug, carrying a gun with him around with him all the time. I mean, he was like a ticking time bomb.
Facing the grief of losing yet another father figure, Kurt fully immersed himself in wrestling, training harder than he ever had before. He dominated his weight class during the 1996 US Open. However, during the semifinals, he failed to execute a move, landing face first on the mat. This impact resulted in a series of cracking and crunching sounds in his neck. After getting back on his feet, Angle realized he couldn't feel his arms. Despite this significant obstacle, Kurt continued to fight, gradually scoring points and eventually managing to secure a win. Following the match, he approached the trainer, who began to crack his neck, eliciting a sharp pain that coursed down his back and arms. 8 hours after the semifinals, Angle was set to compete in the finals against Kerry McCoy, one of the most accomplished wrestlers in U.S. history. He considered taking a break, knowing that second place would still qualify him for the Olympic trials, but wanting to make Dave and his dad proud, he wrestled anyway, but he did.
Wait, you mean to tell me he wrestled even after breaking his neck, bro? I broke my shoulder. It's not even broken. I dislocated my shoulder, bro. And I couldn't even do anything for a whole month. This guy broke his neck and he's still wrestling. Damn.
Do everything he could to avoid engaging in the match. Miraculously, Kurt managed to pull off the victory and was one step forward to achieving his Olympic aspirations. This would be Kurt's defining characteristic as an athlete. His career is packed with memorable moments where he defied the odds, but he might be one of the only people on the planet who would hop back into a full-contact brawl, half paralyzed. To this day, it's arguably what he's most remembered for, with memes popping up anytime someone does something remotely impressive both in and out of pro wrestling. But as
I think I saw a meme where it was like a girl is approached and then she's like, I have a boyfriend. And then the guy is like, that's cute, but can he do it? Can he fight? And then she's like, yeah, but can he do it with a freaking broken neck? Obviously.
Up anytime someone does something remotely impressive both in and out of pro wrestling. But as inspiring as this sounds, Kurt was falling into a common mental trap for aspiring professional athletes. He refused to give his body rest out of fear of losing momentum, literally tearing himself apart over and over. He'd soon have to confront a serious question. Would you rather be safe and heal your injuries, or fight through the constant pain and risk it all? Kurt visited a chiropractor who conducted an x-ray and informed him that he had 4 fractured vertebrae. 2 of the discs were pressing against his spinal cord, and he was one wrong move away from being completely paralyzed, or maybe even dead. But Kurt was an absolute madman. Even though his body was starting to fail, he continued doing weight training and cardio. He explained on the Joe Rogan Experience that instead of slowing down, he went on to participate in the Olympic trials where wrestlers were eager to exploit his injuries. He had to depend on a traveling physician to give him Novocaine before each match to kill the pain of a broken neck.
I said, well, what's your plan? He said, well, you're not going to be able to train much. You're going to have to let your neck rest and heal for the next 6 weeks. And it won't be completely healed, but it'll be healed enough that you can still go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a doctor travel with you. And this doctor is going to stick you with 12 shots of Novocaine in your neck 5 minutes before each one of your matches. Therefore, you won't feel the pain. You'll forget your neck is broken and you'll wrestle more freely. But he said, I'm warning you, an hour after your matches are over, you're going to be in excruciating pain from the abuse your neck takes during those matches. And he said, are you okay with this? And I said, yes, and it worked.
But when he finally got to the 1996 Olympics, his opponents knew about his neck and they planned on exploiting it. But Kurt wasn't going to go down easy. In his first match, Kurt defeated a wrestler from Mongolia 4-0. His next opponent was a 7-foot-tall Cuban, and after a tense bout that ended
7, damn, that's a huge ass nigga.
0-0, he ended up scoring a victory with just 4 seconds remaining in double OT. And in the following match against a Russian competitor, he found himself trailing 3-0 early on, but his opponent used up all his energy. But as we know, Kurt's cardio was world class, and he ended up coming back from a 3-0 deficit to win with
Look at this angle, bro. With a broken ass neck. How? Damn.
a score of 4-0. The only chance he had was to wear his opponent down without losing the ability to move. And surprisingly, the strategy really worked.
And extended themselves in this match despite the 1-1 score.
Shadidi showing a lot of power in this overtime.
Off the mat, no points, no score. 1 minute and 25 seconds left in the sudden death. Jackie, Kurt's mom, very nervous. Sometimes she leaves. She gets so nervous and anxious, but she's going to stay here for this one.
And Shadidi here
taking a break.
But when when the match ended, it all came down to a referee's decision. All Kurt could think was, 4 more years. I have to do this for 4 more years. He knew he wouldn't be able to just stop wrestling after earning second place. But after some tense debate, the referee raised Kurt's hand, and he realized he had just won a gold medal despite competing with a broken neck.
God damn, that's crazy.
There's the hand being raised. The referees didn't know. First raised one hand, then the other, and elated. Kurt Angle jumps for joy with this victory and gold medal.
Oh, I thought she was not happy. I thought she was not
At
happy.
that moment, it was as if the curse had been lifted. Kurt proved to himself, his dad, and his mentor, David Schultz, that he was one of the greatest athletes who had ever lived. It took a tremendous amount of strength and stamina.
That neck looks like it's in pain right now. Look at that, it's so big. It has already even, like, it's swelling already. It's swelling. It looks painful. It looks painful though. Yeah.
To be a gold medalist wrestler, and to do it all with a broken neck, that was enough to make Kurt Angle a legend. But, legend or not, Kurt was still incredibly poor. There was a reason why Olympic wrestlers were willing to put up with a schizophrenic DuPont who was waving guns around and shouting at ghosts. The only way most Olympians made it out of poverty is if someone came along to capitalize on their hard-earned success. For Kurt, this would be Vince McMahon, the architect of the modern
This guy was a menace.
WWE.
I remember watching, like, a long time ago, he used to be this vicious boss, ordering people around.
And it would become clear that the pain Kurt was feeling was far from over. He was going to break his body over and over again in the WWE, developing a brutal addiction and even more tragedy that would last him a lifetime.
Oh, these ads are so fucking much. You know the thing is, yeah? My frames are just dropping. The thing is, these frames are they're just dropping. Right now, I'm pretty sure this thing won't even be. Like, it won't even be like this is the way I thought it would be. So, yeah. But I guess because I'm live streaming, like I'm live streaming from all angles. Yeah, I'm cut angle, so I'm like I'm live streaming from all angles, like cut angle. What am I saying? It's not even making sense at this point. But yeah, let's continue the video. Let's continue the video.
Following Kurt Angle's victory at the Olympics, he had the kind of storyline that would make any savvy businessman see dollar signs. The story about his dad, the connection to one of the greatest Olympic scandals of all time, and winning the gold while almost becoming paralyzed. It was something that wrestling fanatic Vince McMahon had been praying for since he started his pro wrestling empire. At the time, McMahon was willing to do anything that he could to legitimize his industry, and there was no better way to do it than to get an actual gold medalist on his team. And to get Angle's attention, McMahon rolled out the red carpet, sparing no expense to convince Kurt that this was his future. Kurt described the whole experience saying, "I didn't know what I was getting into. Going up there and them giving me the whole limo treatment and first-class airfare and treating me like an important person, it was pretty cool. Going into Vince's office and talking to him was a bit overwhelming. I knew of him and what he's accomplished, and to meet with him, he straight up gave me a 10-year deal. This is what it is, and this is what you're gonna get. Take it or leave it. I asked him if I could talk to my agent first before I decided, and Vince said, that's fine."
Why is he so nonchalant about it? Take it or leave it. What the fuck?
The meeting wasn't that long, but I told him I was interested. I didn't know if I was going to sign or not. And the offer McMahon gave Kurt was way more than the average pro wrestler at the time, who received a 10-year contract for $5 million. But surprisingly, Kurt rejected the initial offer. It was more money than he could have ever dreamed of, and yet he couldn't help but feel that this career change felt a little cheap and silly. If he signed with the WWF, he would have to accept scripted losses from people who would never come close to achieving what he did in 1996. Imagine being the actual best wrestler in the world, having won an Olympic gold medal against the highest level of competition possible, and then entering the WWF and fake fighting in front of a crowd that saw you fight legitimately with a broken neck. It may have felt like a serious step back, but after some thought in 1998, Kurt was convinced to try out for the WWF, accepting a contract within days and training under Dory Funk Jr. He debuted in the WWA, which is essentially the minor leagues, and from there, his attitude towards professional wrestling was starting to change. He knew that the fights in the ring were scripted, but he also started to understand that this didn't mean that there weren't quality athletes taking on serious risks. When I got to the WWE, my attitude changed. I started getting what it's all about and understanding it. It was actually in early 1998. I started watching it on TV. I started watching Monday Night Raw. What caught me was Austin, Rock, Undertaker, Triple H. It was a fun show to watch, and they were very athletic. I was really surprised at their athleticism. Seeing them go through the ring, the issue was, I still thought it was a bunch of stunts. I didn't know there was psychology and storytelling involved. That's what I thought. Pro wrestlers were Hollywood stuntmen. I didn't understand there was some wrestling involved in pro wrestling. It was an eye-opening experience for me. And after a year of matches and constant training, Kurt Angle had his first televised match at Survivor Series 1999, where he defeated Shawn Stasiak. From here, Angle proceeded to have one of the greatest rookie years in pro wrestling history. He remained undefeated for 2 months, with his first loss coming at the Royal Rumble in January of 2000. The following month, he won both the European and Intercontinental Championships. His character initially presented him as a virtuous and patriotic figure, emphasizing his Olympic success and promoting his 3 I's: intensity, integrity, and intelligence. His moves in professional wrestling largely reflected his Olympic wrestling background. His signature moves included the angle slam and the ankle lock. This persona was originally designed to make him a role model and give some legitimacy to wrestling. However, his overly self-righteous demeanor and cocky and condescending attitude quickly turned him into a comedic heel. By 2003, Kurt Angle was more recognized for his pro wrestling career than his journey to Olympic gold. He had performed with industry legends like The Rock to win the WWF Championship, engaged in a feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and had generally proven to be the
I love the way they usually had these arguments on stage, the way they would just talk shit to each other. Those were the best moments in WWE, honestly. Right now, whenever I watch it, it's like, it's not there.
Kind of athlete that was able to pull off incredible stunts while goofing off in a way that let audiences know he didn't take himself too seriously. But he was about to make history that would change the course of the WWE and his life forever when he feuded with Brock Lesnar. To fans, this was a match made in heaven.
When I was in the ring, I took a lot of pride in what I did.
Angle slam!
I always wanted to be the best. I was always the best.
Kurt Angle is a WWF champion!
God put me on this earth to be a professional wrestler.
Look at this monster!
I think Kurt Angle wanted to know just how good.
Brock Lesnar, on the other hand, used to scare me. I don't know why. This guy was scary. He used to even fight in the UFC.
He really was. And no one could push him like Brock Lesnar could push him.
To this day, the climax of the feud at WrestleMania 19 is considered to be a technical masterpiece. Brock and Kurt were at the top of their game, and every fan was tuned in to see them settle their rivalry once and for all. But tragically, it...
Hey, yo, look at Brock Lesnar's ears. Why does it look like it has another hole over here?
looked like Kurt Angle's curse was far from over. Once again, his body was starting to quit on him. And now looking back on this legendary feud, it's obvious that every hit Kurt was taking was absolute agony.
Lester rolled out of the way!
And the whole story for the match is Kurt being down.
He looks so wild. Lester leads! Talk a lot about the heart of Kurt Angle. The WWE champion now has to show that.
Bro, that's painful.
Right now.
And even though professional wrestling looked like a positive distraction, Kurt wasn't as young as he used to be. He was a 35-year-old man held together by incredibly invasive procedures, and because he refused to slow down, he was forced to make a visit to the hospital that would change his life forever. He underwent neck surgery to repair nerve and spinal damage, calcium buildup, bone spurs, and intervertebral disc issues. Instead of removing the discs and fusing his vertebrae together, Angle opted for a less conventional surgery where only the spurs and selected portions of the discs were removed, and the surgery was mostly a success. It reduced Angle's rehabilitation time from 1 year to 3 months. But in order to help with the speedy recovery, Kurt's doctor prescribed an increasingly popular painkiller called Vicodin, an opioid used to numb the pain from severe injuries and after intense procedures.
You know, this is the problem, because now if you're giving him like these drugs and he doesn't want to slow down, he will keep on taking them each every single day, like just because he's fighting, just because he's training, and eventually he will end up like being affected negatively.
At the time, Kurt didn't see the big deal. 1 pill every 3 to 4 hours in the short term seemed simple enough. However, as the pain became more mental than physical, Kurt would find himself confronting the greatest battle of his life, struggling with an addiction that was very new to the American public. And even he could not have predicted that his greatest rival would be on the mat or in the ring. This time it would be against himself. Back in Virginia, his sister Leanne had been struggling financially. For a long time, she had been losing her self-worth after enduring 3 unhappy marriages, and with the pain, she resorted to H to finance her habit. Leanne frequently called Kurt for money. That was until he discovered she was spending it on drugs and had accumulated a debt of $35,000, prompting Kurt to insist she go back to stay with her mother, or he wouldn't help with her debt. With no other option left, she returned home. Kurt settled the debts, and for a time, Leanne appeared to be doing well. But even though Kurt's sister was surrounded by family, she could not kick her dependence on the drugs. Sticking to his word, Kurt chose not to speak with her after discovering she did stop. And in less than a year, she lost her life. She didn't get clean, so for the next 8 months, I didn't talk to her. Then she overdosed. And this is what ultimately pushed her over the edge. They're saying that addiction is a family disease. One person may use it, the whole family suffers. So what they forget to mention is that addiction itself often runs in the family. One person is using, there's likely more suffering on the other side of the table. In his interview with Joe Rogan, Kurt explained that the loss of 2 family members was too much to handle. His relationship with Vicodin was out of control.
So we're in the hotel room, and I looked at my pills. I said, I took them from my mouth, small. I ended up talking to the next day. I had the biggest match of my career that day.
At this point, Vicodin wasn't there to help with the pain. It was a ritual that prevented Kurt from